All right, today we're going to dive into the world of one of Hinduism's most powerful but maybe lesser-known deities, Baghlamukhi. She's the goddess with the absolutely formidable power to paralyze. And let me tell you, you might want to forget everything you think you know about goddesses, because this story, well, it takes a very different path. So to really get a handle on Baghlamukhi, you first have to look at the crew she rolls with. She's part of a group of 10 tantric goddesses called the Mahavidyas, and this quote just nails it. They are the anti-model of that traditional docile image. We're talking fierce, rebellious, and representing a kind of raw, untamed divine power. So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with her rebellious sisters, the Mahavidyas. Then we'll get a proper introduction to Baghlamukhi herself, the paralyzer. After that, we'll explore why the color yellow is so important to her, check out one of her key legends, and wrap it all up with a really surprising connection to one of Hinduism's most famous gods. First up, the rebel goddesses. You see, to really understand Baghlamukhi, you have to get to know the disruptive and powerful group she belongs to, the Mahavidyas, also known as the Great Wisdom Goddesses. Wow, okay, so the Mahavidyas, they are a fascinating bunch. These aren't your typical goddesses. They're often found in places like cremation grounds, and they embody things society usually considers impure or forbidden. They completely shatter our ideas of what's beautiful or proper, and they stand for this absolute female independence, a power that can easily overpower the male ego. They can be incredibly terrifying, for sure, but they can also be amazingly merciful. They just force you to look past the surface and question, well, everything. Okay, so now that you've got that wild, rebellious context in your head, let's zoom in on our main focus, Baghlamukhi. As the 8th Mahavidya, she has her own very specific and, frankly, pretty incredible cosmic job to do. So her main deal, her superpower, is something called stambhana. It's the divine ability to just stop anything in its tracks. I mean, we are talking about the ultimate pause button. She can stop motion, she can stop speech, she can paralyze an enemy's mind, or just freeze any kind of negative energy. Her power isn't about creating something new, it's about the ultimate supreme power of control, and just making things stop. And when you look at how she's depicted, every little detail is just packed with meaning. She's sitting on this golden throne of authority, holding a mace to crush evil, and, this is her most famous image, she's pulling the tongue of a demon, literally silencing harmful speech right at the source. Heck, even her name comes from the word for a horse's bridle, which tells you everything you need to know about her power of control. You know, it's pretty rare for one single color to define a deity, but for Baghlamukhi, yellow is everything. Her clothes, the offerings people give her, it's all yellow. And this isn't just a random color choice, it's incredibly symbolic. First off, think of yellow as the color of transformation. It's almost like alchemy. It's her power to take something negative, a lie, a court case, a bad intention, and just flip it into truth and a positive result. It's the color of radical change. And then, yellow is also all about knowledge. It's like the color of the sunrise, right? It clears away the darkness of ignorance and brings clarity. And her wisdom isn't just some abstract idea. It's that practical, real-world knowledge you need to get through life's challenges, to know when to act, and maybe, more importantly, when to just be still. And last but not least, yellow is the color of straight-up victory. Just like gold, it represents success, prosperity, and winning against any and all obstacles. So when people pray to her, they're often tapping into this aspect to beat their enemies and achieve their goals. Okay, so we've talked about what her power is, right? But how does it actually play out? Well, there's this classic story that shows her unique ability to silence and paralyze perfectly. So the story goes, there's this demon, Madan, and he gets this insane boon called Vak Siddhi. Basically, it meant that anything he said would instantly become real. But of course, he misused this gift, using his words as weapons to hurt people, to kill, and just to spread terror all over the world. The gods, they were totally helpless against him. So what does Baghlamukhi do? She doesn't fight him with some big, fancy weapon. Nope. She does the one thing that only she can do. She just reaches out, grabs his tongue, and paralyzes it. She stopped his destructive speech right at the source, and just like that, he was completely powerless. It's a huge lesson, right? On how powerful our words can be, for good or for bad. All right, for our last piece of the puzzle, we're going to get into a connection that is honestly pretty mind-blowing. We've established that Baghlamukhi is this super formidable, kind of intimidating goddess, so who on earth would worship a deity like that? The answer might really surprise you. So who would turn to the Paralyzer for strength and protection?
Believe it or not, Lord Hanuman. Yes, that Hanuman, one of the most beloved and revered figures in all of Hinduism, the absolute symbol of strength and devotion.
So get this. According to some pretty serious tantric texts, the secret to Hanuman's legendary invincibility, it comes directly from Baghlamukhi. He was apparently initiated into her secret, super powerful mantras, a kind of supreme wisdom that made him completely unstoppable. The texts literally say that once this power is awakened, no force in the entire universe can stand against it.
And that incredible connection to Hanuman brings us right to our final thought. We live in a world that's all about action, doing more, creating, moving forward. But Baghlamukhi represents something completely different. She really makes you stop and think about a totally different kind of strength, the power of stillness, of silence, of control. So what does it truly mean when the ultimate power isn't about being able to act, but having the absolute authority to make everything else just stop?